Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? It's a little bit after 7. We need to go ahead and get started with tonight. The commission meeting for January 26, 2026, we will have our invocation and pledge that will be led by our District 7 commissioners. Chris Gregory, if you can do the invocation. Thank you. And then Judy Kerr, if you could do the pledge. Thank you for that. A copy of the minutes from our November 24 commission meeting have been distributed. If you guys would like to read these over, if you see any additions or corrections, you could always just notify Miss Rita Crowder of that. Under announcements, there will be an open house to review proposals for the park master plan, and those will be held next Monday, January 26th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Representatives will be here on hand from Kimberly Horn, and they'll present you with the proposal along with they would like to receive feedback from all of us regarding that, and also from the public. If there's any questions that arise, we invite everybody from the public and the commission to come in early and take a good look at that.
And
for those
where?
Downstairs. It will be from 5:30 to 7.
And tell that date one more time.
Next Monday before the meeting. And like I said, they will have the master plan down there, the different ideas, and they would like to get your feedback on those. Also, candidate petitions are available at the election office located downstairs on the first floor. Petitions for fee offices such as clerk, register of deeds, trustee, and then sheriff, and then they're due on February 19th. And then petitions for commissioners, board of education, and mayor due on March 10, 2026. Does anybody have any announcements from the floor? Okay, thank you. So at this time, if there'll be no additions to the agenda, we'll be looking to set that for this next week. If you guys have anything you'd like to add, we can bring that up as well for next week. Citizens' response to agenda items. If you wish to speak to the commission tonight's work session, please sign in at the podium and you'll be called to address the commission at the proper time. So at this time, I'd like to ask the mayor if he would have anything he'd like to share with us tonight.
I will have a full mayor's report on Monday evening. There's a number of issues going on.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the mayor? Okay, moving forward. Looks like we have had pretty much all the subcommittees have met, so we'll be looking for those reports next week. So we're going to move on to active and new business for the month. We have anybody signed in? I wasn't 100% sure. Brian, do we have anybody signed in? Sure. Thank you so much. So we have one signed in to speak this evening. We will address that at the proper time. So we're going to move on now to active business. You're going to find this on page 17 of your packets. The interim fire chief, which let's roll to that. So the interim fire chief, we have Ken Buckmaster. His interim appointment will be for 90 days, and that did begin January 1 of 2026. Beer board reappointment for 4-year term will be Chris Gregory and David Nallner. Housing Authority, an appointment for a 4-year term has been granted to Bill Ferguson. Industrial Development Board, we got Helene Singer Cash, ex officio TCEA director. Leah Variable Petty, reappointment for a 4-year term, and then Seth Thurman, again for a 4-year term. And the Board of Zoning Appeals should have been struck before the packets were sent out. The appointment will be made next month. So as we move forward, does anybody have any question regarding these appointments? Thank you so much. Resolutions. Resolution 2026-01-835 ECD road name, Cobb Lane, Judy Lane. It says here, this is on page 20 and 21 of your packets. If you could take a look at that, does anybody have anything they'd like to speak to this resolution? Okay. Then we have, this will be our public hearing, second reading for ordinance 338-2025 to rezone A1 to R1, which is parcel 28032.04 on Old Highway 25. And this is on pages 24 through 29 of your packets. Ms. Mayan, would you please refresh the commission at this time on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So if you look at this property, Old Highway 25, you'll see that part of this property goes into a large parcel right behind it. So they would like to rezone this parcel of land to R1 so they could subdivide. And she is going to be selling the last part of the parcel to add to this farm. So it's going to be keeping farmland and then also being able to have the house on a piece of land there. And we do have the zoning map where you can see that there are multiple parcels in this area where a lot of this is going to low density residential.
Does anybody have any questions regarding?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. David?
Rosalie, if we rezone that whole property to R1, and then that back part goes back to the individual with the farm, that farm is agricultural. Is that R1 going to have to be rezoned again to agricultural to be joined to that property?
If you do rezone that whole parcel, then yes, sir, it would. So I would recommend that we just rezone the parcel, the portion of that parcel to R1, keep the rest A1 so they can add it to the back parcel.
Does anybody else have anything for Rosalie? Moving forward, we will be having our first reading for ordinance 339-2026-01, which is a rezone C2 to R1, parcel 18009.00. You're going to find this on pages 30 through 34 of your packets, and this is on Highway 25 West. And at this time, if you could refresh us on that one as well.
Thank you. Yes. So I did give a handout to everybody right before this meeting. This zoning map did not make it into the packet in time to be in your packet. You will see that on Highway 25, remember, we have always had that corridor there of C2. Well, at the very corner of this parcel of land next to Sulphur College there is a house and a piece of property. They would like to separate this from this large parcel that is partially C2, partially A1, and have that 1.7, give or take, rezoned to R1 so they could subdivide this out. And you can see in your packet what the TN property viewer has is this large parcel of land. This parcel is 114 acres. They would just like to separate out 1.7 to have rezoned to R1.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions regarding this for Ms. Rosalie? No, thank you so much. We're going to move on to budget amendments. Fund 101 General Services. This is 101-09G, which is TCI training grant for the jail. This is on page 36. of your packets. If you'd like to take a look at this, Chris, do you have anything you'd like to speak on this about?
No, but Budget Committee reviewed all the budget amendments at our meeting just before now, and all were approved with no questions on any of them.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Chris on this? Moving forward, 101-10R, which is the opioid contribution, which is on page 37, the sum of $65,000. Again, Chris, could you speak to this?
Yes, this is from the opioid abatement money that we receive on an annual basis. This will be going to both Haven House and Hartsville Hope and Healing. It's not broken down the exact amounts, so I don't know what portion of which, but those are the two organizations that it will be going to. The mayor mentioned that the Hartsville Hope and Healing will be to establish a youth program.
Thank you very much. Does anybody? Yes, Landon.
I don't know if Sheriff's still here. Oh, my bad, sir. He had mentioned on his way out and in discussing that 65,000, is that money set that it has to go to those two locations? The reason I state that piece is he stated that he would really like to get his cop cars equipped with AED units, which to me would be a very beneficial use of opioid type money when we have a heart situation. And I didn't know if some of that money could be going towards the sheriff's department to purchase AEDs.
We actually have quite a bit of funding for the opioids that we could also do the sheriff as well. We can make that budget amendment next month if I can get a quote from the sheriff to do that.
I thought that was a really good ask on that. He was asking the question where that money was, how much was available. It said this one had to be out by February 26th. So maybe there's an understanding of what we could do there.
Thank you so much. So we'll look for that. Thanks, Ray. The next one is Fund 116 Solid Waste. It is 116-03F. The Convenience Center 2026 Chevrolet Silverado, which is on page 38 of your packets, $45,000. Again, Chris, can you please speak on this one for me?
Well, this is to purchase a work truck for the convenience center. This is a fund balance draw from solid waste. Really didn't get much of an explanation past that. I know the question had been raised, I think why it was came up mid-year as opposed to having come up at budget last year, but don't really have an answer for that one. There's probably a question for Mr. Salee.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question regarding this? Appreciate that. Moving forward will be Fund 118 Ambulance Services. This is for 118-03G EMS. There's a safety grant, and this is covered on page 39 of your packets, and it's $10,329. And Chris, do you have anything you can talk on this one for me, sir?
Yes, this is a safety grant received. Be used to purchase a transcend chair with power track system, which I believe it is for lifting. So hopefully we'll make it easier on our EMS folks, not having to lift people themselves, having something to do it automatically make their jobs a whole lot easier.
Sounds like it'd be a lot safer as well. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Chris on that one? Appreciate that. Okay, moving on, 141 General Purpose Schools, which is covered from pages 40 to 43 in your packets this time. This is going to be 14109. It looks like it's a Healthier Schools Challenge, $8,000. 14110, which is the Ferguson Memorial Trophies, sum of $5,000. We got 14111, which is the Trousdale County High School gym scoreboards. This is $14,130. And then an insurance recovery, 14112 for bus 12, which is $18,700. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of that? Thank you. It's pretty straightforward. Ms. Rita will have me an updated list for our new notaries this next Monday. So now we get to move into other business. which is this ongoing discussion that we have regarding a wheel tax proposal. I've had a conversation since our county attorney cannot be here this evening. He called me up and we had a pretty lengthy discussion about a couple of items that he's instructed me to bring up this evening. And so he'll need us to supply a directive to him, Ms. Thomas and Ms. Crowder, on any ordinance language that we're looking at. So at this time, it stands as $80 for most vehicles, $50 for antiques, motorcycles, motorbikes, scooters, and side-by-sides, low, medium speed vehicles. Currently, the distributions are set at 40% for the jail capital outlay, 40% for education capital outlay, and 20% was the general capital outlay. Ms. Thomas said this could go to fund number 171, and it would be earmarked for the designated projects on the new funds. So tonight, we're to discuss this, the percentages, all of this, so we can just keep a forward movement and discussion on this so we can get to a point on this. So at this time, I'll open the floor. Does anybody have anything they'd like to speak to this? Judy?
When these figures were come up with, does that 40% cover the new jail? Or how close is it, or what?
No, ma'am. That was I hate to use the layman term, it was a spitball set of numbers that were tossed out there to get the conversation going. So now it's on the floor for us to discuss about the rationale behind these percentages and how it looks. I mean, we all just sat through this, budget and finance committee. We have these numbers in front of us. We know where we stand fiscally. We also know that of the necessity of this. So at this time, I mean, anybody and all of us, we're here to discuss this. That's what work session's for. These percentages, how do you feel about them? He's looking for a directive. Our county attorney is regarding this. Nobody's arguing the topic. We just need to get some clarification. Yes, Chris.
I will restate what I mentioned during budget committee just a bit ago. Now, the amount is okay. The percentages, we know that the jail's here. That's staring us straight in the face. And Mr. Gully did make a good point about not completely ignoring the school, which that is likely to come down the road. But Dr. Satterfield also mentioned at the December school board meeting, which I was at, that the school system then, I said this was as of December school board date, which I believe was the 18th, I believe was that date, that the school system was 20 students down from where it was this time last year. So they're in we know it's coming, but they've not presented us with any kind of request, with any, hey, this is the time frame we think we're going to need this. I have a real issue with putting that big a percent towards something that we don't even have any idea of what it would be, what it would look like. And with regard to a school, I've stated it to some of y'all before, and even have mentioned that before. And I think Mr. Ford touched on this too. I would just as soon see us build a 7-8 wing down there on the high school, which was designed to be added on to. Please don't interrupt me, Ms. Kerr. You'd have to work out logistics because you don't want 7-8s mixing with bigger kids. True, but you could build a wing a whole lot cheaper than you could building a whole new building. I think
We're
that's
aware.
something
At
we
this
ought to look
point,
at.
though, as far as what those funds are done, we're just discussing the percentages as a good starting point.
Yeah,
We need to flush that out. We're all aware. Yes, sir. And I appreciate that. I understand our enrollment numbers are down a little bit, but future growth is coming. So that is forthcoming down the line. But right now, the pink elephant in the middle of the room is a jail that's looming in front of us.
yeah.
And that can is now the size of a dumpster. We have to deal with this. So looking forward, that's That's our big
Yeah.
hurdle at this point. Ms. Kerr, you've asked to be
From a
recognized.
I'm just supposed to,
Say we have them, but I apologize. I don't in my brain. Some numbers, percentages of what we're looking at with the.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, at this time, I'd like to ask the mayor if he could chime in on this for me, please.
Um, I've been in ongoing discussions with Mr. Langford at Spirit, and we're almost to the point of having firm numbers. We'll have firm numbers on what this jail is going to cost and by the not Monday night, but by the next meeting. That would be with a basic jail and room to expand into courtrooms later, and then quarters for the sheriff's office. But we'll have those numbers next month. That's one thing that Mr. Beller advised me before we really divvy up the wheel tax money. We need to know what this jail is going to cost and how we can fund it. And those revenue sources, we have some on the horizon, but and I have purposely slow walked this jail thing because we didn't have the money to build a 35 or $40 million facility, and I personally didn't think we needed that, but we'll have numbers next month, and that's going to clear the air on what we can do now.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? See, the thing is that we're utilizing this as an opportunity to keep the ongoing discussion and keep this is a work in progress, everybody. Is it Landon? Yes, sir.
Just one, what was the estimated, at $80, the estimated revenue for the county on this tax? I know. I just
I'll
want
defer to
clear.
Amy for the right number.
At $80, and that would be for all vehicles, so it didn't have that 80-50 split. That was 912,800. And at $100, it was 1,114,100.
So at $80, which is the proposal, I think that's currently that we're discussing, we're looking at 900,000 range of dollars. Folks, straight up, unless the mayor has been able to get Spirit Architect into a major different than what the last time they discussed with us was, and I sure hope we can save as much as we can save. That's not going to, this 900,000 is not going to fix our problem. So I just want to make sure we're all clear that even if 100% goes to that project, it's not going to fix our problem. This is just trying to aid in a revenue stream to fix the problem. And I think we can talk other extras and all these things that can get muddied. On this one, if you want to put more to the jail side of it, do 60% and 40%. I still encourage you to and to take the 20 out of the 101 that's just spending money. By that I mean 101 often it's going to be salaries or something of that nature. Put it on one spot. We know where it's setting. We know where it's going for. It's still the same monies. Either way, they're going to need them. Put it 60-40 and move on, and have a plan for your future where that when this thing, we're sitting here, we've been talking about jail since 2018, 19, and we've not put any money except for that 171 that we finally got moving about 2 years ago in the right direction towards this jail. Plain and simple. We're reactionary instead of proactive, and I'm asking you to be proactive, and I think I encourage this commission to be proactive going forward. You mentioned one thing that I would like to see our Mr. Baylor do in this one is the 171 be for the whatever percentage goes to the jail move, and then the school one goes into a school fund that. And I talked to Miss Angie on that one. They said they could set up a school like we've got a 171 account. I think that's what Miss Amy asked us to do the first time. So we need to add that language for sure if we stick with a percentage going that direction.
100%.
Make sure that gets done.
I agree.
Please be proactive instead of reactive.
Yes. Miss Judy?
I do think we all need to talk to the public more. Right after the meeting that we had with the tax assessor, we got some negative feedback about us taking money from the public and putting it in a savings account. We just need some more.
Understood. You got to understand that setting money aside, even if it's a smaller percentage, setting money aside is moving us into a proactive stance instead of a reactive stance, because operating in the reactive state is about 30 to 40% higher than doing business in a proactive state. And I hope everybody could clearly understand that. It's just called a budget. You know, if there's something you need and you don't have the money, you have to budget for it. And we're having to budget for things that are coming because we know they're coming, instead of going, oh my gosh, what do we do now? We're hemorrhaging. That's what that's about. I mean, that all will have to be language that's cleared up for the public, exactly, why. That's
We
why we're
could
in this
use
place we're in.
Public input besides.
Yeah, talk to your constituents. That's what it's about. So, thank you. David? Yes, sir.
So every time the school board needs a building built, they come to us for the money because it's a county building. That's the statement they make every time. So what's the point of separating it out? Why not just put all the money that comes from the wheel tax into a capital fund outlay, line item? So that takes care of the jail, that takes care of a school, that takes care of whatever building that we need to build going down the future.
Anybody else? Again, this is direction that we need to be directing towards our council, but this is all good for please, Chris.
Strictly from a percentage standpoint, I think 60-40 is probably a little too evenly. I'd rather make it be like a 70-30 or 75-25, but Mr. Thomas makes a good point too. If they're going to be county buildings anyway, go ahead and stick it all in there. And
there needs to be a way to earmark funds so that you can budget.
okay, well,
you just can't throw it in there and just call it Yahtzee.
Okay, well then I'd rather it be like a 70-30 or 75-25, something along those lines.
Anybody else before we move on? Yes, Amber?
I agree with Chris. I would like to see it also 70-30.
Yes, and that's forthcoming, especially when we get our numbers. Yeah, we'll be able to figure that out. David?
Well, to my point though, you can have it in a fund that is already earmarked for future projects, not in a fund that is directly accessed by the school board. My concern is if we start sending more funds to the school board, you've got your reoccurring cost, and I can't remember the correct term for it, but your the money that the county has to pay every year. I would be concerned about that going up every year.
Understood. And I believe that's a lot of what Landon was covering, is that would be held by us and then administered in that way, if I'm not misunderstanding. But I think that we would probably govern it instead of turning it all over to the school board. And Chris?
One question for the mayor. The numbers that we're going to get from Spirit, whenever we get them, we had some discussion in this commission previously about phasing it out, maybe building part of the jail and sheriff office and maybe doing the rest later. Are the plans they are going to present, do we know if they're going to be like that where it could be done in phases, or is it all going to be all or nothing?
No, it's going to be phases, with room to expand. Also, the last drawings that he showed us, there will be enough land to build courtrooms later. But the basic would be the basic jail and the sheriff's offices at this time with room. He explained that pie, four pieces of the pie. It would be completing 3 pieces of that pie and then having another section of pie to expand into later on.
Thanks. Does anybody else? Yes, Alan?
I think the numbers showed, and I think Landon touched on it too. We need to remember that, like, if 100% went to the jail, it's not even going to cover the interest for a year. And
that is very correct.
In my opinion, we need to pay our bills before we start handing it to somebody else to play with.
Right. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add to this one? Yes, Judy.
Has there been discussion with the sheriff and with the district attorney about holding off with the courts?
With the original layout? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The original layout is included the options.
I mean, holding off and not building them for sale.
Yeah, we've discussed that. And one of the objects of discussion was that we have a criminal justice building now that's not fully paid for. And before we build new courtrooms, conventional wisdom would say, let's get that paid for. And there may need to be some remodeling done to that building and adjustment. We're putting in a microphone sound system now that should have gone in originally because it was not considered at that point. But going forward with the final layout, we'll certainly have the sheriff in on those discussions as we did in the beginning.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Let me also say that conservatively, using conservative numbers, the annual payment on this jail was probably going to be $2 million. That's conservative. Okay. If you go with the courtrooms and build everything you like at this point, then you can kind of let your mind take it from there. But if we can get this thing with a conservative number, the payment's going to be $2 million.
Thanks, guys. Landon,
One more thing.
hang on. Landon's got the floor.
Just stating the obvious that we've stated before. 4 years ago, we were pretty close to a number, or 3 years ago, we were pretty close to a number. We were looking at 20 million. That 20 million on we were going to be able to get really close to a $4 million, $4 million, I'm sorry, a 4% loan, a $2 million payment over 40 years. Okay. We need to be clear, very clear. Yes, the people of this town are going to be coming after us because there's going to be a property tax. There's going to be additional ways to have to cover this number, plain and simple. It's not going to be simple and it's not going to be easy. I hope you can get a $20 million bill or less. That would be amazing. But we were talking 3 years ago and the interest, the reason I say that, the interest rate is not going to be 4% this time. We're not going to get it. So we're going to be looking at an additional cost. And those were straight facts that we were ready to present to this commission.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay. So at this time, what I need to do is I need to bring something up further about the conversation I had with our county attorney. Regretfully, he was unable to attend the meeting tonight. He had a prior obligation that there was no way for him to get around it. So basically, this is on me to speak for him, and I've got notes as to what we discussed to bring forward to you guys. Regarding that EMS management proposal that was brought forward by him originally. It's Mr. Beller's understanding that that situation is not a dead situation, but what they are looking for is direction from the commission as to what our needs are. Okay, they spitballed that thing to start the discussion. That's all. They were not looking at an ownership thing. They're looking at a partnership, but that's just one way of looking at it. It's all up for discussion. But they're looking, if we want to continue discussions with them, they are looking for direction from us. That's number one from him. Number two, he said what we were looking for is better employee benefits for those that work for the EMS service. Amy ran the numbers of just their package. We're not talking about everybody. We're talking about just that one particular proposal, but the benefits package that they were offering. Amy says that there's no way that this county could afford to pay for the benefit package that they were going to offer the employees. So that was a big thing to continue that discussion. He said their legal department contacted him. So apparently, as they've moved into these rural communities around the Southeast, they're reaching out to each of the communities and extending conversations to try and help out in this situation. So as he was discussing this with me, I did some research to see where this was coming from. And I had Amy print these for me so I could bring them this evening after in his absence. I'm bringing this to you myself. I have enough copies of this to go around to you guys, maybe one or two extra. You want to take these and pass them around. This is basically CTAS 552. And this is ambulance and emergency medical services. It's the state's position on all of this. I'm not a lawyer, so I had to look this up and read for myself. And I had her highlight for me the things after I had to read it for myself and then go back and digest it after my conversation with our attorney so that I could bring this to you and show you where he's coming from and where they're coming from. And then I'll continue on the discussion that he asked for me to share with you. So if you guys could just pass these around for me. This is just to clarify. It's just facts, just information is what this is. While they're being passed around for you guys to look at, he did tell me that any proposal of this type, he said he said we are definitely number one is that they're going to have to staff this. So they would have to hire the employees to do it. If this was just one of many proposals, it was just the first conversation again that they entered in with him. He says that this type of thing will reduce tax burden. It will increase employee benefits. And the upside of it is what they're looking for is for them to be able to get additional training above and beyond continuing education. I know a lot of us in our fields, we have to do it. If there's any additional training out there, it would be made available through them. He also said that by moving into a firm like that they would have the ability to have better advancement opportunities and able to work inside that network with all their other hospitals that's in their network, that they could work in that. He said that was one of the other things that was on the discussion. But that's what it is. He said that his advice is that we look this over, look at the facts, and move forward with further discussions. Do you want to look at it? How do you guys want to look at it? You know, do you want to see a committee research to see what we can come up with? Do you want to see fact finding to see what we can do to support what the document says? Yeah, Chris.
I think we definitely want to know facts about this proposal or whatever proposal came forward. In reviewing that proposed contract that had been sent to us, I looked through it and written several questions down. The two main ones I had were, one, how would our employees be treated? Would they? And it sounds like you, Mr. Baylor, through you, has addressed that one. The other question I had was how it would affect the county financially. Looking in that contract, there was a line item. There was a item in there where, okay, we paid X amount of dollars per year, and then depending on their financial statement, we would either pay an additional subsidy or get some reimbursed to us. And I had emailed Mr. Baylor asking, could we see an example of what that would look like had this agreement been in place in, say, 2022, 2023, didn't really matter what year, but
I addressed that. And that proposal, they're now, that's been withdrawn. So they would entertain conversations, but we need a committee. We need somebody amongst us. We need to put together a subcommittee to investigate this. And we need to write down what our concerns are. We need to look at what our questions are going forward. If we were to pursue this, what are the options going forward? As far as where those reimbursement points are, what the level of investment is on them, and vice versa. Chris, go ahead.
well, we have a first response committee. Would that not be the one to ideally position to look into that?
We understood that we would put together a committee of several, not just first response. It would be some people from budget finance, would be different ones, to look at the math, to look at all of it, but definitely include them as well. Yes. Does anybody have anything? Like, again, this is not my thing to bring forward. I'm just informing you since he couldn't be here. So yes, Amber.
Okay, with the training, they are getting excellent training now through Vanderbilt with their medical director, Jeremy Crook. So
Understood.
that's checked off. You will lose 70% of the EMS workers that are here now. They're going to be gone. And 3, this was done before we even got it. Like the hospital or didn't come to us ahead of time and be like, yeah, we want to work something out. It
They
was given
started
to
that,
us.
the way I understood it, they started the process the way that they were supposed to. Their attorney contacted our attorney to begin the process, and then he brought forward the first draft that he had for you. And that's the thing. I mean, that's how it was. I mean, that's how you should do it. I don't know of any other way to do it. Their attorney contacts our attorney, brings forward their first round of proposals, and then it ended. But if we want to enter into that discussion, we just need to put together our criteria to present to them. And we could start honing that over a period of time. Yes.
Questions I would want answered before I could make any comment would be, there's some way this is helping them, clearly, or they wouldn't propose it. How is it going to affect? This says that they will ensure that we get an acceptable level of service, emergency medical service.
That's from the state. That's the state's
Okay.
stance on this. That's not from them.
Okay,
That's from CTASC's website.
okay,
Okay, just so you know, that's just clarifying the verbiage.
okay.
I found that like I said, when Brandon called me and told me that he can't be there, I need you to talk about this. He said, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be there. He's the one that had the conversations. I did not. But I'm just, for the sake of transparency, I'm just letting you know what little I know. But what I do know is that I was able to get on the CTAS website and find that document myself. And I wanted to share it with you in another form of transparency. David, yes.
So as a Sumner regional employee, I can speak to the benefits. As a member of the personnel committee, I can speak to the offers that we were sent when we looked into benefits. To get the Blue Cross Blue Shield benefits that I have at Sumner Regional as an employee, it would cost, based on what was sent to us by our broker, it would cost the county twice as much and then the employee twice as much to get that same benefit. So I can see a benefit to this proposal, but the way the proposal is written, it's almost insulting, because when you look at the actual numbers, we paid in tax dollars to furnish ambulance service for this county of $715,000 last year. That's in the budget. Everyone can see that. They're wanting us to pay $724,000. Now, this was the proposal. It's their first shot, but they wanted us to pay $724,000 just flat out, plus any deficit that would run, plus maintenance on the vehicles, maintenance on the building. We had to maintain all that. If they needed a new ambulance, that was all included on our expense. So you're looking at them proposing that they're going to help us do more, and those benefits are going to cost us a minimum of $200,000 more a year than what we're spending now.
So I appreciate that information. You guys heard what he had to say. So let's take that information along with the numbers that they brought forward, and let's write our direction on what we're looking for. That's what they asked. They said, if you want to continue conversations with us, bring us what you're looking for. They spitballed. And of course, I'm sorry. In business, you're going to aim high, and they sure did. But does it look good? No. But those are real numbers. Let's find a way to rub on this thing to where it's in our interest, and then see if they want to look at it. You know what? That's why we wanted to start an investigative committee on this. We need people with all sides of it that can look at it, not just EMS, but we're going to bring, or the first responders, but we'll bring several in on this so that we can actually make an objective, proposal that we can bring forward. Should we want to look at this going down the road? I honestly think that as per this document from CTAS, we probably should at least look at it. If nothing else, we can find a way to better the employees. I'm all for, nobody wants to see them suffer in any way, shape, or form. I mean, come on. We don't. So what we'd like to see is if we can find a way to make it better for them. And find a way, he says we can find a way, we will find a way to lower our tax burden through this. We won't do it, we wouldn't do it if we didn't. That'd be bad business for everybody. So, this next commission meeting, if you guys would like us to move forward with that subcommittee to actually go out and investigate this, we can do it. Yes, Judy.
Still want to say that they're not offering this without something. They're planning to make a huge profit or they wouldn't offer this.
That's
And
why,
the concern, which this committee would need to answer is, how is it going to affect the service we get? And if I get picked up at my house, I'm having a heart attack, and I want to go to Vanderbilt in Wilson County and not here, do they have to take me to Vanderbilt or do they have to?
that's all to be part of the language going forward. They're looking for our direction. And so that's all that Mr. Beller was looking for, was just verbiage from you guys. He can't make that decision on our behalf. So, Mr.
Thing, just to say it.
Yeah.
I have several doctors in my family, and one of them said that when the doctor's office gets bought out by an entity, that entity is only looking at their bottom dollar, and the services do suffer.
Understood. That's why we're in charge of this. We'll, if it's the will of the body, we'll put together a committee. This has gone on a lot longer than I intended it to. I'm just telling you that if it's the will of the body, we will put together a committee. We will research this and we will stack the cards on our side going forward. Did you have anything, Brian?
Basically, the only thing I wanted to ask, there's no guarantees in that proposal that they proposed, the contract that they sent everybody. There was no guarantees of nothing. There's no guarantees that the employees would actually even be hired to work for that service. We didn't have any guarantees that what would happen to our EMS director, EMS chief, EMA director, Matt Beatty, what happens to him. These are viable assets to our community, no matter how you look at it. Basically, we're sitting here talking about, should we even look at this? Well, they are assets to our community. No matter how it's drawn up, no matter how it looks on paper, these people deserve the best. I don't even really know why this is even, or it even should be even discussed. I think they've been doing a really good job.
It came to us through the attorney, and that's why the discussion's on the table. Yes, Chris.
I'm fine with proceeding with putting a group together to look at this. I mean, maybe that group looks at it and says, hey, we just can't come up with a way to make this work. And if that happens, so be it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
100%.
I think we at least look at it and try to make it the most favorable to our people, both to our EMS workers and to our taxpayers as possible. And if there's a way to do it, I got no problem with that.
And that's the whole purpose behind the research committee.
Let's at least move forward in that regard.
Yeah, well, we can make that decision at the next meeting. Yes, Alan.
You need something to put it on the agenda for the next meeting?
No, if you guys want to make a motion from the floor at the next meeting, we can address it then. Does anybody else have anything regarding this before we move forward? I got a couple of other things I need to touch on really quick before we do. Again, this was just to start the vernacular, clear the air, make sure everybody understands the transparency of it. And that's the reason I found that, had Amy print it so I can bring it out here so you can at least look at it. It's for everybody to look at. Like I said, nobody's trying to take anything from anybody. We're just we're trying to look out for everybody's best interest here. Okay. At this time, it says, looks like Bill's has signed in. Would you like to get up and speak for a moment? You got something you need to speak about?
I never used to have a problem giving my 2 cents worth back when I was sitting in one of those chairs that you guys are sitting in now. I did want to say a couple of things that came to mind as I was listening to tonight's discussion. Landon Gully is 110% correct on a couple of things. Number one, it was only $20 million 3 or 4 years ago. and it's not going to get any better. The interest rates are not what they were back then. And this jail is a huge, it's not just a pink elephant, it's a gorilla now. It's ugly. And it's before us, and it's been before us, and it's not going away. He's also correct about the wheel tax, about the educational system needing certain things in the future. And usually when they come to you, it's usually a pretty strong dollar figure of something that they need, and they're going to need it in the future just as much as you're going to things for a school system is going to be needed just like there are things that are with the jail and so forth. So the thing I want to say about your wheel tax, it's probably, in my opinion, I've talked to some other people as well. Nobody likes to pay a tax. But the county, they have to have revenues coming in some way, and they're very limited on those ways in which they obtain revenue. And so I want to say that in the past, the wheel tax had a specific agenda, so to speak. And I think you're going down the same path again, which is good. It's a little bit broader than the last time. But if the public, and I'm just John Q. Public today, the public wants to know where those dollars are going. Okay, they want to know where they're going, or at least a general proximity. But it's also smart and business smart to prepare for things that you know are coming down the track. Okay, I checked this afternoon to see how many sleds we had in the house because I know something's coming down the track. I'm not going to get on one, but I know some of the people in my family might. But it's always good to prepare for things, and those decisions are made here. You know, it's just like the last topic that you had. There's a negotiation, I guess I don't know how far it was down the track, but it behooves all of us to at least consider the possibilities. How does this benefit the county at the end of the day, if it benefits it at all? Okay. And to the taxpayer of this county, I think that's the one that has to, you have to have that in your mind as commissioners first. What's in the best interest of the entire entity of the county, the taxpayer of the county? And if you have something that comes down the pike, like what you were just discussing a second ago, and there's a chance, hey, at least be what's the old phrase? I'm all ears. Let's hear what you have to say. And I think that's where you guys were going with that. But I think you're on the right track with your wheel tax. I used to call it the Pat Ferguson wheel tax because he was the one who was in office when that thing started way back in the day. They did sunset it. They said, I've had many people in the community ask me, well, why'd they let that thing go away? Well, there was a promise made back in that day, and that was a promise kept by those people at that time. Jerry Ford probably knows very well what I'm talking about. And I think that was very honorable because I don't know how much government these days will make a promise and all of a sudden later on, well, maybe they forgot about it. Maybe, we can keep this going, which they could have. But I'm saying that just to say basically that there was a promise made, there's a promise kept. And what you're doing, and as you look at this, we're going to have ways of generating revenue. And short of a casino in Travis County, which you can't have, you're going to have to find other ways to make your revenues. And that's unfortunately through property taxes, and it's through a proposed wheel tax. And, you have to think about it for just a second. When we did away with it, there's been many years now. And I want to thank Amy, and I'm going by memory, that it was about $300-something thousand way back in the day when I was here, which was about 4 years ago. So if it's going to generate almost $1 million or $900,000, it's a pretty big plug. But we also have some things staring us in the face too, financially, that are not in our favor. So if the county can look for ways to save and prepare for the storm that's coming, that's smart. And if you can tell the public, and here's how we're going to save our money, I think that's smart. I mean, let's don't look for the boys above us. The boys in Washington, D.C. are $30-something trillion in the hole. So let's don't look for their advice. Let's do it on our own. Let's just be good bookkeepers in our own house. And that's all I had to say. I think you all are going in the right direction. Ms. Kerr said, need public input. And yes, the public needs to hear about it, but the public needs to have a responsibility too, to come and listen to these things and not be reactionary. They also need to hear and go to these meetings if they really care, because it's hard to make a decision on something of this magnitude within 30 seconds. It really is tough. There's a lot of moving parts in these things. But I liked the direction you all were going in. With the jail is just a jail. I mean, nobody wants to spend money on it, but you're going to have to. You don't have an option on that. Educational system, they might fluctuate for the numbers, but the bottom line is, as a realtor, this county is growing, subdividing. Right out 141, the farms are just going, they're dividing up little orange stakes left and right, and that they're not building little tiny houses on all those places. So the school system is going to grow, and it's going to have needs. And I just think it's a smart idea. I think the wheel tax is a more fair tax because it captures more than just your landowners. You know, Jerry one time had run the figures, 43% of the people in the county were paying all the property taxes. You know, the wheel tax to me, and I've had other people echo that as well, saying, you know, it captures a more wide band of revenue from different people in different aspects of the county. But nobody likes a tax, but you got to balance your checkbook. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Last order of business here, if weather conditions make travel unsafe next Monday, none of us have a crystal ball, but it looks like that's what they're saying could be coming down the pike for us. There will be posted and text notifications sent out to everybody regarding this meeting that's coming up next Monday. There is a tentative makeup date scheduled for Monday, February 2. If we do get Snowmageddon or whatever it is they're predicting is coming our way. And the last thing, I just want to make sure you guys, I want to clarify this for you. I appreciate each and every one of you on the commission. Every one of you guys, you mean a lot to me. Your opinions mean a lot to me. And as people, it's not fun to sit up here and try and do this. It's not fun to bring forward things sometimes that doesn't land well on other people's ears. You're all valued members of the community, and you're all valued members in my community right here. Our EMS workers, our police department, everybody here is an asset. I'd hate to think of where we would be without them. But I want to thank you guys. Like I said, it wasn't my situation to bring forward, but I did it because our attorney asked me to do it. He felt like you needed some clarity. You needed something to be said in his absence because of the situation coming forward with it. He did not ask me to look up that CTAS form. I did that. Okay. Just looking for supporting documents one way or another, just to see what did that mean. Okay. Let's look down the road, and I've heard it a million times, but Landon puts it the best. Proactive is where we need to be doing business going forward. In a reactionary state will bankrupt you. Okay. So you guys be careful going home tonight. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you hopefully next Monday if it doesn't snow. Yes, Landon. Yes. Thank you, guys.